In 1861, a quarry worker in southern Germany discovered something incredible: a single feather, imprinted in stone, perfectly preserved. Soon afterward, an almost complete skeleton of the animal the feather supposedly belonged to was discovered. Scientists named it Archaeopteryx, meaning ancient wing. For more than 100 years, this fossil was considered one of the strongest pieces of evidence that birds evolved from dinosaurs. But then, new discoveries began overturning one assumption after another. First, it turned out that the famous feather might not have belonged to Archaeopteryx at all. Then, feathered dinosaurs were discovered. Then, dinosaurs with wishbones. Then, even dinosaurs with 4 wings. Suddenly, the fossil that was supposed to be the answer became a new question. Was Archaeopteryx really the transition between dinosaurs and birds, or were there no transitional forms at all? To answer that question, we first need to get to know this unusual animal. Archaeopteryx lived about 150 million years ago, during the late Jurassic, in what is now southern Germany. But back then, this region looked nothing like the Europe we know today. Instead of forests and cities, it was a chain of tropical islands. Everything was surrounded by shallow, saltwater lagoons. If an animal fell into one of them, it died almost immediately. Its body sank into the mud and remained preserved. That is why today we can even see traces of muscles and feathers. Archaeopteryx was black. It probably looked like a dark, feathered dragon the size of a magpie. It weighed about 1 kilogram. Its skeleton was almost identical to that of small, carnivorous dinosaurs. It had a lightweight skull with large eye sockets. Its jaws contained 12 small, needle-like teeth on each side. Its tail was long and bony, made up of many vertebrae. Modern birds do not have such a tail. They have a short tail that supports their tail feathers. But Archaeopteryx had feathers running along its entire tail. Although it was long believed to be a poor flyer, recent research has suggested otherwise. Using CT scans, scientists looked inside its skull. They discovered that its brain was adapted for flight. It had enlarged visual centers. Its inner ear resembled that of modern birds. This gave it excellent balance in the air. Its feathers were asymmetrical. In nature, that is a clear sign of flight capability. It was exactly this combination that gave scientists a headache. Reptile traits, bird traits, combined in a single skeleton. To paleontologists, Archaeopteryx was priceless. It stood exactly on the boundary between 2 worlds, the point where one kind of animal became another. To this day, only 12 specimens of this animal have been found. Although science describes Archaeopteryx as a transitional form, there is another perspective. Creationists argue that this fossil is not evidence of evolution. They see it as a fully formed, unique species of bird. From their perspective, science has not yet explained several key contradictions. Their first argument is feathers. Creationists argue that feathers are far too complex to have arisen by chance. Archaeopteryx had fully developed feathers. They also point out that no fossil shows a half feather and its evolution. Then there is the furcula, or wishbone, a bone found only in birds. Archaeopteryx possessed this bone. According to creationists, these are 2 key features that firmly place it within the world of birds. What about the teeth and claws? Evolutionists say these are remnants of a reptilian past, but creationists offer a different explanation. They argue that these features are not evidence of evolution. There are modern birds that still have claws on their wings, such as the hoatzin, turaco, and ostrich. Teeth are not exclusively a reptilian feature either. There were other ancient birds with teeth, such as Hesperornis. There are fish and mammals that have teeth, and others that do not. Having teeth is simply a variation within a kind. What science does not clearly explain, they argue, is why teeth would disappear. To creationists, Archaeopteryx was created with teeth because it needed them to catch prey. It was not a poor flyer that gradually transformed. Its asymmetrical feathers prove that it was an excellent flyer from the very beginning. Creationists raise an even deeper question. How did a completely new genetic program arise inside cells? Every transition from a reptile to a bird would require millions of new pieces of information in DNA. A new program would be needed for lungs that function differently. Creationist advocates argue that mutations produce only errors. They do not create new, complex organs such as wings. They see Archaeopteryx as evidence for a forest of life, not a tree of evolution. Every kind of organism was created separately. Archaeopteryx was simply a bird with unusual features. Even within the scientific community, the picture has become more complicated. For a long time, Archaeopteryx was believed to be the first. Then older fossils were discovered in China. Anchiornis lived about 10 million years before Archaeopteryx. It too was completely covered in feathers. Then Microraptor was discovered. It had 4 wings. It even had long feathers on its legs. Leg feathers were also found on the 11th Archaeopteryx specimen. Scientists are still uncertain about the purpose of those feathers. They were not asymmetrical, so they were probably not used for flight. They are believed to have been used for courtship, much like a peacock's display. This suggests that feathers may have evolved for display rather than flight. These discoveries suggest that the evolution of flight was probably not a simple, straight-line process. Each of the 12 Archaeopteryx fossils has its own story and its own name. The most famous is the Berlin specimen. It is worth more than $50 million. But one specimen has been lost forever. The Maxberg specimen disappeared after the death of its owner. He kept it hidden beneath his bed. After his death, the fossil simply vanished. It is probably sitting in someone's private collection. Science lost one of its key specimens. Every new fossil raises new questions. Archaeopteryx still stands at the boundary. To some, it is the perfect evidence that dinosaurs walked and eventually took flight. To others, it is simply another example of the incredible diversity of creation. They argue that the gap between reptiles and birds remains unbridgeable. Science continues to scan its bones, but every new discovery raises more questions than answers. Was Archaeopteryx really a transitional form or not? That is a question we may never answer with complete certainty. The mystery of the feathered bird lizard lives on.